Shabbat Shalom, folks. It's so nice to see all of you joining us from wherever you happen to be in the world right now. Welcome to my living room. It's nice to have you joining me in my home as I join you in your homes, or if you're on the road heading back from work, maybe on vacation somewhere, who knows? But wherever you find yourself, this is just a moment to bring Shabbat in. The beautiful nature of Shabbat is that we can cultivate it wherever we happen to be. And so it's a moment of just pressing pause on our flow of the week, taking a step back, and allowing ourselves just to be. Maybe this is the time you're giving yourself to do Shabbat for the next 24, 25 hours. Maybe this is the 30 minutes or so that you're going to pause, which is great. Maybe this is the beginning of taking a full day of rest. And so I'm going to challenge you in this moment to maybe actually commit to doing something that extends Shabbat just beyond now. I mean, great first step. So glad you're here. But maybe make a commitment of, I don't know, putting your cell phone down and like maybe not picking it up again until you wake up tomorrow, or even, bold move until the sun goes down tomorrow, or even just shutting down your social media for a little bit, or making a commitment to take a long walk, or to have a good conversation with a loved one. And that could be actually a phone call, but maybe it's turning to the person next to you, or to a pet as well. Maybe it's just slowing down with your meal tonight. Maybe it is taking a deep breath, maybe perhaps the first deep breath you've taken all week. And I think that's something we can all do actually to help just begin cultivating this Shabbat practice together. So maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze. Maybe to let your shoulders relax, your neck kind of be long. It's this duality of allowing your spine, your neck to be straight and to connect upward, but while also letting your shoulders relax and not hold that tension. Right? Let the arms kind of dangle. And your feet are firmly on the ground, or perhaps your seat is comfortably in the seat underneath you. Maybe you're going full Shabbat mode and reclining right now. But remember, even in recline, to allow your body to relax. Take a deep breath. And just let it out. Take another deep breath. And let it out. Let's do it one more time. And out. There's a principle in Judaism that once is chance, twice coincidence, and three times intention. So that was our intention setting for this Shabbat. Let's sing in a little bit of this space here. If you want to light candles with me in a moment, this is also your warning to grab your candles and your matches. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Welcome, folks, to those who just joined us. I'm Rabbi Stephen, and you are in my home with me, and I am wherever you are. That is the joy of technology, which is not such a bad thing to use on Shabbat if it connects us. If you have your candles, you can light them up, or you can help me bless mine here. Take a moment, we gather the light towards our faces. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlikneh shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, folks. Look at those lights. Something that we do on Shabbat in creating and cultivating space of pause. Like, what do we kind of do? It's like the question, I guess, is what do we do when we hit pause? Like, what fills that space that is normally occupied by like the worries and concerns of the week and the tasks and the to-dos? And the liturgy gives us a hint, right? There is a psalm specifically for Shabbat, Psalm 92, which begins Tov lehodot Lashem, right? It's good to be grateful, right? To the creator of all things, God, the emergent process of creation, I don't know, the unfolding of the universe, whatever you want to ascribe our being to. But the idea being that in that space, right, in that moment of pause, right, what might fill it is recognizing what is good and what is right and what is grounding and what is comforting and what is inspiring, what is life-giving in our lives right now. And I think particularly given the state of the world, which you don't necessarily need to go into right at this moment, I think we are all keenly aware that the world is a bit of a dumpster fire, if we're quite frank, right? To cultivate alongside that, this space, right, within this pause, to just connect to what's working, right? What is right? What is worth expressing gratitude for? And we do this not as an act of naivete, right? We do this precisely because this is what actually allows us to move through the world when it is not as it should be, right? And we are so painfully aware that the world is not as it should be. And so to reorient ourselves towards what is worth fighting for, what is worth preserving, the dream that is worth pursuing, right? We take this moment of pause and we say, this is right now. Right? Whether it's the cool air, right, of a kind of early spring day that we're feeling here in Chicago, right, a little taste of what's to come, or it's the love you experience from a person or pet, or just the embrace of the world around you today. Whether it's something good that happened at work, at school, at home, good news, could even be small news. Perhaps the joy of somebody else, right? That residual joy that we get to feel watching our loved ones thrive, flourish, experience good things. Or even people we don't know. I'm still kind of riding the high of the Olympics, right? Getting to watch somebody just do something incredible, right? And to be able to go, wow, like that's so amazing. Whatever it might be, to begin to just like, I don't know, hold that a little bit. That's one of the muscles we build, right, on Shabbat, right? In that spaciousness that is created when we just take a moment to step out of the flow of the week and into something else. I invite you to join me singing these words, or you can just continue listing aloud or in your head, in your heart, things that you're grateful for. Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. Ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. Ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Lashem. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Umenatcha baleilo ve'emunatcha baleilo. Tov lehodot Lashem. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Ve'emunatcha baleilot. Emunatcha baleilot. Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. Ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Lashem. So I thought, because we entered the month of Adar a few days ago, and we're coming up on the holiday of Purim, we would welcome in Shabbat, but particularly the Shabbat before the holiday of Purim, with a little Adar song, a little Purim song. So if you know this one, you can join me, but also it's pretty easy to catch on. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. And that's it. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. Mishe Nichnas Adar, marbim besimcha. It's the line from the Mishnah. It means the one who enters Adar, and once Adar kind of comes to us, we increase our joy. Marbim besimcha. Right. The question, of course, is, well, how does one just increase joy? Well, I think by beginning to cultivate that space, right? To recognize not only what brings us joy, but also to be like, okay, let's do joyful things. I really truly believe that joy is an act of spiritual resistance, particularly in a world that sometimes tries to kind of tamp down on our joy a little bit. That said, we recognize, of course, even on Shabbat, that there are things that are not the way they should be. there's people in our lives in need of a little extra prayer. And so this is a moment when I want us to hold alongside, right, the gratitude we've cultivated, the spaciousness that we're building around us, right, the joy that we're committing ourselves to also hold those who are in need of a little extra prayer right now, whether it's healing or comfort or safety. Maybe it's people and places far away from you. Maybe it's yourself. And I know there's some people tuning in tonight who need a little extra prayer for comfort and healing and some love. So we're thinking of you as well. Ana bekoach, bekoach, gedulat yemincha, yemincha. Tatir tzerura kabel rinatamcha, sagbeinu tarenu nora. Ana bekoach, bekoach, gedulat yemincha, yemincha. Tatir tzerura kabel rinatamcha, sagveinu tarenu nora. Ana bekoach gedulat yamincha, tatir tzerura, tatir tzerura, kabel rinat amecha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Ana bekoach gedulat yamincha, tatir tzerura, tatir tzerura, kabel rinat amecha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Hay ay 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 ay, 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 hay ay ay ay, hay ay 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 ay. Hay ay 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 ay, hay ay ay ay. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. So nice to see all you today. Just wanted to offer a little bit of Torah, and after just a few words, a few thoughts, we'll have time for the mourner's Kaddish, a prayer for peace, and we'll bless some wine, and then that'll be it. So we are, as I mentioned, approaching the holiday of Purim. Hopefully I will see many of you there Monday evening for our adult raucous 21 and up Purim. There's a spiel. They make fun of Rabbi Lizzie and I quite a bit in a loving way. We do a full Megillah reading, the entire book of Esther. So I'd love to see you all there, either online or in person. We also have our family Purim the day before on Sunday. Always a great time for kids of all ages, including big kids like us. So there's an interesting confluence that actually happens at this moment. The parasha, the Torah portion that we're reading this weekend, is Tetzaveh. We are in the flow of the book of Exodus. This is the moment in which God is giving all of these instructions to the Israelites, from everything from how to structure their society to quite literally how to structure the space that is going to occupy the center of their community, which is the Mishkan, which is where we actually get our name. It is a portable community center, spiritual space, focal point of gathering. It is a place where adjudication of the law happens. It's a place where people bring disputes. It's a place where people seek out consultation when folks are ill or injured, right? This is really an important focal point for the community. And so God gives all of these instructions on how to build the Mishkan. That's what we read last week. And then this week, God gives all of these instructions on the priesthood, and in particular, what the priests are going to wear, right? And so we have really highly detailed, very specific kind of outlines of the robes and the breastplate and the hat and the right. It's really quite miraculous, quite wonderful to read if you are a lover of fashion. This is a great moment to picture in your head kind of what exactly would this look like. The relevance, though, the reason I'm bringing all this up is something really fascinating happens in this parsha, which is that from the beginning of Exodus, when we are introduced to little baby Moses, right, the one who gets put in the basket on the river, kind of sent down the Nile, all the way until the end of Deuteronomy, right? So from the introduction of Moses in the beginning of Exodus, all the way to Deuteronomy, there is not a single parsha, there's not a single portion that doesn't mention Moses, except for this one, right? Except for this parsha, right? So every week, every Shabbat, we're reading the Torah and Moses appears in some fashion, and rightfully so. He is the one leading the Israelites through the wilderness, right, out of slavery in Egypt to the edge of the Promised Land. He's going to give a nice big speech. That's the book of Deuteronomy, and he's going to die, and then the Israelites are going to cross into the Promised Land, and then he appears no more because he's no longer a character who is actively participating in this chapter of the Jewish people. Except for this parsha, right? Except for this week, we have all of this stuff about Aaron and all of this stuff about the priesthood. What does that have to do with Purim? Well, Purim, we read the book of Esther. And the book of Esther is really fascinating because it is the only book in the Tanakh, in the entire Hebrew Bible, that doesn't mention another character who's quite important, which is the character of God. Right, the book of Esther, right, the story of Purim really centers in on both human failing, right, human vice, but also on human ingenuity, on human resilience, on human creativity, on human heroism. Right, God does not appear, God does not swoop out of the sides to save the Jews. Right, it actually really falls on Mordecai, and in particular on Esther, right, the heroine, the really the true hero of our story, for whom this story is named. So, what is the relevance here? Why are these two connected? Well, God and Moses, right, occupy a lot of space within our tradition, right? In the story of the kind of formation of our people, right, Moses takes an outsized role and is often the one that people turn to when they're in crisis. There's a lot of moments when the Israelites look to Moses and say, well, what do we do? Like, how do we make our way through the wilderness? Right? And in the same way, kind of in the longer arc of our existence as a people, right, we often turn to God and we say, well, what do we do? Right? Come save us, right? I mean, really, the beginning of this whole story, of the Exodus story, is the Israelites cry out to God, and God says, boom, right? Here's a leader for you. Here's some plagues, right? Here's a splitting of the sea. Like, I'm gonna usher you out of this space. But we learn, right, on both Purim and in this parsha, in this Torah portion, that sometimes we actually have to do it ourselves, right? When Moses is not there, right, Aaron steps in. And when Aaron's not there, right, the other priests step in to facilitate this connection between the Israelites and God, between each other, right? Aaron was famously said to be a Rodef Shalom, one who both facilitated the connection between the Israelites and God, but also between each Israelite and each other, right? He was a pursuer of peace, a Rodef Shalom, a one who brought people together, right? Who actually showed people that they didn't necessarily need to turn to Moses or another authority figure to mend relationships, but they could actually turn toward each other to solve things, to fix things, to find their way through this wilderness, whether it's the wilderness of like the Sinai desert, or it's the wilderness of like life and the obstacles that we face by being human beings. And in the same way, by the book of Esther, God steps out of the picture and people look around and say, there is no one who's going to come save us. Like we actually have to do this ourselves. There's this great moment, right, where Mordecai looks at Esther and says, nobody else is coming. Right? Nobody else is coming to turn this story around, right? Like, this is not fair. It's not right. It sucks that you're in this position, right? This is a direct quote. But truly, right? This may not seem fair, but you're like, this is what we got. Like you need to step up, and she does, right? And she does in a way that changes the entire arc of the story from one of disaster, right, to one of celebration, which is the overturning, right, that we see on Purim, that everything can kind of change in a moment. I think we are in a time, right, where we might look around and we see people in power doing bad things. We see people in power abrogating responsibility. And it might be tempting to say, okay, who's going to save us? Right? Who is going to save us? Who's going to respond to this moment? And I think like this parsha, Tetzaveh, and I think like the story of Esther, right? This is a season in our world where actually we don't get to look up, right? We have to look to each other and we have to look to ourselves as well. And so what do? Right? How do we respond to a world that feels so broken, right? That feels so dark, right? One choice, of course, is to respond in kind, right? To respond to darkness with darkness, to hate those who hate, right? To enact violence on those who enact violence, to respond in kind. But that's actually not the formula we're given. We're given a very different formula, and it's a formula that each and every one of us can do. And those are mapped out, right, in the 4 mitzvot of Purim. Right? In a world where there is no one to lead us, right? In a world where the responsibility falls on each of us, in a world where darkness seems to surround us, what do? And the rabbis say 4 things. 1, read the story. Remember our history. Remember that we are the inheritors of people who pick up, right, the tools of redemption and take that next step. Whether it's Esther, whether it's Aaron, whether it's the nameless Israelite who schlepped across the desert so that we could exist here today, right? That's our story. Right? We remember our story, and our story is one of resilience, and our story is one of courage, and our story is one of the individual mattering, right, in this story. Number 2, we take care of those in need. Right? One of the mitzvot Purim is I got balloons. That's too early. Celebration's the last mitzvah. The second mitzvah of Purim is to take care of those in need. All right? To recognize that actually we have abundance. Right? It may not be as much abundance as somebody else, but we certainly have the ability to give to those who have less than us. And the giving can be material. The giving can also be of our time, of our love, of our attention, of the dignity of actually seeing somebody with our own eyes and being seen in return. Right? These are all ways to give to those in need. The third is we connect and give to each other, to our friends, right? Mishloach manot, right? Gifts of food, right? Goodies, right? But I think there's more than just goodies there. It's actually the idea of sharing, right? Of our abundance, whatever it might be, with those we love, right? Of coming together around a common table, and of the 4th mitzvah of celebrating, of saying, this is the life we're given, this is the life we have, right? The world may not be exactly how we want it to be. We don't know what tomorrow it's going to bring. So you know what? Eat the cookie today, right? Hug the people you love today. Sing the song. Celebrate. Create space for joy. Do what we're doing right now, which is to resist the temptation of just giving up and giving in and saying, no, we are going to celebrate. We are going to live life. We're going to choose life, right? L'chaim. And so at a time, right, and it can feel really hard and really difficult to suddenly feel that weight of responsibility come on us at a time when we might look to those in power and say, hey, do your job, right? They're not necessarily going to do their job, right? This is a moment, right, where God has left the stage. Moses has abrogated leadership for just a moment at least, right? And so we step up. But the ways that we step up are ways that we can all do, right? To remember our story, that we are the inheritors of an incredible lineage of resilience and courage, to give to those in need in whatever way we can, because we can always give to those in need. And third, to bring our friends together, to share in our abundance, in our wealth. That wealth does not necessarily be material. It can be the wealth of love and joy, happiness, celebration, song, space, time, attention. And fourth, to celebrate, right? To not delay joy. Right? To not say, I will live life tomorrow, but to live life today. So that's Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Let's sing a song for peace, and then we'll do the Morris Kaddish, and then we'll bless some wine, and we'll wrap up. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru imru amen. Hi-ya-da-da-ya-da-ya-da-ya-da-ya-da. Hi-ya-da-da-ya-da-ya-da-ya-da. 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 Oh, say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru imru amen. May the one who makes peace on high make peace for us and through us. And to that we can say amen. I'm going to invite you to take a moment and think of anybody who's no longer with us, whether you're in a period of mourning, Shiva, the 7 days following somebody's burial, the Shloshim, the 30 days, or a year, or whether it's a yahrzeit, the anniversary of somebody's passing today. I'm going to share their names in the chat or just speak their names into the space that you're in. I want you to rise as you're able for Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitzkadal Vitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divra Chirte V'amlich Malchute B'chayechon V'yomechon V'chaye Zechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uvizman Kari V'imru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'lam Omei Almayam Yitzbarach V'ishtabach V'itpa'ar V'itroman V'itnaseh V'itadar V'it'aleh V'ithalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam araba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. Yehi zichronam livracha. May all their memories be for a blessing. Got a cup of wine. I'll invite you to grab it, or grape juice, or whatever beverage you have on hand. Vayer vayvoker yom hashishi vayechulu hashamayim b'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vaykadesh oto ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. I say savri chavarai, we say l'chaim, to life. We choose life today because today is what we have. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta im kol hamim, ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim, folks. L'chaim, l'chaim. Well, that's what I got. That's what I got. So, Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you. Thank you for connecting with us, with each other this evening. I hope you have a restful, wonderful rest of your Shabbat. And hopefully I will see some of you either in person or online for Purim. Again, family Purim on Sunday. our adult-only 21 plus raucous Purim spiel and Megillah reading on Monday. That's it. That's it, folks. Take care. Nice to see all you.